Ladies and gentlemen, got back from Washington, D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they got something they want to say. I think they got something they want to say. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they got something they want to say. D.C. I think they got something they want to say.
Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Kirsten, the liberal moderator. No. You like it? And I have my co-host today. It's just.
Oh, hello. Is everybody's favorite conservative in New York, Christopher Wright.
And we are the Politics Podcast. Today we're on episode 28.
Oh.
Yes, we're on episode. So today we only have, it's just me and Chris holding it down. We're actually balanced today, but we have a special guest in the house, so we're really excited to introduce him. So obviously, thank you guys for listening to the podcast and sharing and leaving comments. Please continue to share with friends and family. Follow us on Politics Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Politics Pod. Find us on YouTube, and if you're listening to us on YouTube, definitely hit subscribe, leave a comment. And as you guys know, we're on all platforms: Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeart, Anchor. So there's no reason why you're not listening to us. Today, as I said, we have a special guest in the house. We got Jackson, the chief editor and founder of Politiscope.
Yo.
So we're excited. He's. Where do you come? Where's you have an accent? Where's
Originally, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh,
I've been living out here on the East Coast for it'll be 4 years this upcoming June.
Okay.
So,
you're still like, you still kind of have that Southern germ.
Yeah. I don't think I'm ever gonna lose it.
Okay. Because
it's too deeply embedded in my soul.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're excited to have you on the podcast. Thank you for coming.
Oh yeah, thanks for having
me. We're gonna get into what Politiscope. First of all, if you're listening, if you're listening to podcasts, definitely continue listening to us. But Politiscope is the type of app that, I've been wanting to get the founders in here. One of the other founders who I have met, Walter Powell.
Yeah.
Walter Powell. He is, he's, I guess, what's his title?
Well, I mean, co-founder, but basically he's like the chief networker.
Gotcha.
He's a former NFL player, very much a people's person.
Right.
So pretty much, a lot of what he does is he's always on the move, making connections, bringing people in, you know what I'm saying, and stemming and building on relationships. So very important, which in turn lets me, do what I need to do.
Right.
And that's one of the best things about our team for everything involved, we don't have to do each other's work for each other.
Everybody stays in their lane.
Yeah,
Perfect. So I met Walt and I was like, yo, you have to do my podcast. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. We've been trying to make it happen. But he was like, you know what? I think my partner should do this. He's more versed in the and you basically are the app. Like you're the one so it makes sense to have you here. So awesome. And we welcome you and we thank you for coming. So, like as we always start our conversations off with, how was everybody's week? How's everything going with you guys?
It's going pretty good. Pretty much. I have a beautiful, wonderful woman in my life.
Okay.
And, she holds it down for me.
So, you know what? Thank you for starting those conversations. More men need to talk about their beautiful women that hold them down. It's so important that I love that. That's the first thing you led with.
It's definitely been very powerful in my life.
Okay.
To have someone that's a partner.
Okay.
Someone that. I don't got to think about 4 or 5 or 6 women. You know what I'm saying?
We were just talking about that with my friend.
Stay focused.
With Jess.
Yep.
I mean, but it is.
Headache.
It is what it is, though. It's got to be the right one. Because if it's not, then so. But
you're not going to be able to build with her if it's just the right one.
Right. And then when you ain't with the right one, you in a whole different mindset. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You in a whole different mindset.
What made you realize that she was the one and she was someone that you had to stop what you were doing and stop playing the games and say, you know what? I need to stop this. This is the person that I'm going to lose if I don't get it together.
Well, I think that, first of all, we just kind of woke up in each other's lives one day. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
It just kind of happened. Mm-hmm. But I think that one of the best qualities in our relationship is that we both are focused on our own lives, constructing our own futures, and we're very supportive of one another. And, you know, I'm an entrepreneur, so what that means a lot of the time is living feast to famine. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got money, and, you know, I've never been rich, but, you know, sometimes life's easier than other times.
Right.
And, you know, in the entrepreneurial process, when you got to devote everything to your brand and your product, like, it don't really make a difference to it. You know what I'm saying?
You know what?
That's
I love that.
It's easy to meet people, but you know, it's not easy to be in the right place at the right time with people. You know, so, but yeah, overall, I think I'm pretty confident that
she's the one.
She's in my life because she's supposed to be in.
Oof. I love it. If you out there, shout out to you, girl. Keep doing what you're doing, girl.
So that definitely. So yeah, that. And other than that, I'm just
working every day.
Following the news, following politics, and making content.
What's the day to day like for an entrepreneur managing an app?
Well, my day to day, when I'm, if I'm not like, doing events or anything, pretty much my day to day is I wake up. And I have to read 40 or 50 articles a day. Oof. I read, maybe not every day, but somewhere in that ballpark. I would say anywhere between 30 to 50 articles, depending on what's really going on. So I might read about, things going on in the finance world, things going on, in the stock market, things going on with foreign policy, things going on with the elections, and then just other stuff, because I'm a super nerd and I just really like learning about like wars and history. And,
nothing wrong with that, man.
Yeah, so pretty much, and so I'm pretty much just reading and researching all day, making content out of it, posting things on the app.
Right.
And I got a dog. I got a Frenchie at home, little Bella, little French bulldog. I'll be kicking it with my dog. You know what I'm saying?
Literally.
Right.
But it's a 24-hour job. I mean, maybe not 24, but it's at least 16 hours a day of like total punching in. And Politoscope, just for everybody that's, just finding out about the app. The app is you want to kind of break down what you guys...
Yeah, so basically Politoscope, the easiest way to understand it, it's a player profile for politicians. You can see, we cover, right now we only do federal level politics. We'll move on beyond that in time. But basically you can see, people in government, what they voted for and against, what those bills mean, better understand legislation, and then follow the news, things that are going on in elections, things that are going on in your country and your communities. Our overall goal is to help people, just understand how society works around them so that they can be better prepared to participate in politics.
Right. And just holding politicians accountable.
Yes. So and knowing how to hold them accountable.
Right, because now you know exactly what they're doing.
Yes.
Congress and senators is alike? Or
so House members, members of the Senate,
okay.
and then obviously the president.
Oh, is the president on the app as well?
Well, he does. Well, in a few weeks he will have a profile, but in a couple of weeks we'll be releasing a new version. You'll be able to track elections, see what people are polling at, see what people have donated. Donate to politicians of your choosing. So that's coming. But right now, it's just an easier way to keep up with politics. That's really what we focus on. We just make it easier. Right now, there's a pretty growing distrust for mainstream media.
Amen.
As millennials and well, I guess they call them Gen Z Zoomers now.
Zoomers. Oh, wow. That's a good one. I didn't even know that.
Well, I don't know if that's the official. I just heard it. But, Gen Zers and millennials, we consume news differently than older generations.
Right.
Definitely.
And so...
we need it quick. I don't need, like... years, like, you remember back in the day that people used to read the newspaper, and like I used to see my dad read a newspaper every single day, like from front to cover, and from front to back, and I'm just like, Jesus, like I used to think like that was the only way you can learn, you know what I mean? Now it's like you can you know, you get your news in spurts on.
And there's just so many
social media.
Sources.
Oh my God!
And they tell you 2-minute read, so like don't waste your, don't get upset. This is 2 minutes.
Or
you know,
you
can listen to a lot of them now too. Like they'll have on the websites to be like you can just play it and listen to it.
Which oh my God, I didn't know that. Does New York Times do that? Because I sometimes want to read articles, but then I get like, oh my God, I'm so busy. I'll like read half of it and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come back to this, and then it's like 3 days later.
I know NPR does it. NPR definitely does it, National Public Radio, and I think PBS does it too.
Okay.
But I mean, you know, it's all. But basically, you know, again, we post articles and videos from credible sources all throughout the web, from over 100 different places. So basically, we just filter policy-focused news so that you can know what's going on quicker and easier. That's the central goal, just making it easier.
Beautiful. All right, so. Chris, what's going on with you? How has your week been? We're in December now.
Yeah, you know, it's not a bad week so far. Getting ready for, you know, the big B days coming up. So,
when's your birthday?
December 11th.
All right.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah,
cool.
336.
So, okay.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to go out with some family and some friends, and you know, just run around the city acting a fool. So looking forward to it.
Beautiful. So, all right. When we just got through Thanksgiving, so we're excited about. So we're excited about like the Christmas holiday now. I'm like getting ready. I'm like I sent my fiance like exactly what I want for Christmas. I'm like, I have to be precise with him because I don't know. You guys have. I don't know. Maybe you guys are good gift givers, but I find that if I don't let my fiance know exactly what I want, I'd rather him not even get me anything then. You know what I mean? Don't waste your money. Don't even waste your money. It's fine. You know, like he got me these boots and he made sure he was like, hey, he was FaceTiming me like, do you like these? I was going to get these for you, but I want to make sure because it's like, it's almost like hit or miss. And it's like, it'll just sit.
Then you'll hurt his feelings, disappoint him.
Right.
Like,
and I don't even want to because I'm not like super materialistic where it's like, I need for me, it's just like, if you're going to get a gift, like, here, let me put you in the right direction. Yeah. And I also want, because like I've gotten gifts, like I've gotten him like the electric skateboards and all these things, and he's like, oh yeah, it's cool. Or I got him a drone one year and I got him the wrong one, so it was just like he just didn't even like I didn't get him the DJI one. So I got him like the off brand, and he was just like, nah. Yeah. And it just like literally died in the corner. I got him a virtual reality, those like things. He's like really big into electronics. Yeah. And it just hit or miss. So I'm like, all right, what do you want? What is, so
you guys got to sit down and have a discussion about gifts to give. Like,
yes, because otherwise we're just going to be like, we'd miss. So shout out to him, just like you shouted out your first. Right. I think that's important. And I think that, we were even having that conversation the other day when we were talking about like, finding the right person, it's important too. Because you can literally in this world, especially in our fields of like entrepreneurship, you need someone that's a backbone that can like support, because it's so hard to like every day wake up and just keep focusing and building, on your dream,
I think a good way to describe it is, that I've learned is like when you have a good partner, it's easier for you to be in your own life. You know what I'm saying? Because you again, when you're in a different mindset and you doing your thing, like you're dealing with more people. You got to listen to more, like it's, women are human beings. They're not inanimate objects. You can't just put them in the closet when you want them, when you don't want them. Like you have to maintain these relationships. And so when you're maintaining relationships with multiple people, like you not as much doing your own thing. You're not as much in your own life. You know what I'm saying? So it definitely. I think most successful men that you see, really successful men, and success means different things to different people, but most of them are married. Not all of them, but again, I think that a lot of that, again, not all of them, but I think a lot of that is just kind of helps you do your own thing.
Because like I noticed athletes, like I work with like artists, right? I manage talent, and I've noticed that artists are more, they don't have wives. Like it's just because of also the type of work.
Yeah, it's more difficult.
Yeah.
You got the group
but athletes, they always have their wives. They're always like they marry early, they have a family, and then they're still out there chasing other
I was going to say.
I was like, hold on. But groupies are groupies.
Right. But because I find athletes to be more disciplined. So they need the discipline of having a family, having someone that's home, that's taking care of the house, like that, because of the lifestyle that they have, you know? So that's the I guess that's the reason why it's different.
But if you're in an unhealthy relationship, get out of it. Definitely,
men and women,
right? Both, because it's good if it's good, but if it ain't good, then it's, all those things about how centered and all that goes out the window. So
yeah. All right. Well, that's awesome. Well, you guys got your tips for the day for a way to keep your healthy relationships going. So we don't usually get into the relationships, but this was a good segue into now political relationships. So you guys ready to politic? Let's politic. All right. So our first topic is in a lot of research that I was doing, right? I recently found an article where I didn't realize this. There are not right now currently any African American governors. As African Americans are pulled into another Democratic Party election cycle, Black voters may miss the opportunity to build a sustainable political foundation for the future. This includes fielding candidates for governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, attorney general, treasurer, judgeships and legislative seats, among others. The outcome could be opportunities beyond expectations. So my question to you guys is, should we be setting our sights on governing on a local level to ensure African Americans will establish a base of power capable of addressing like the core needs of Black communities? Or should we just have more Senator Kamala Harris's and Cory Booker's because I kind of feel like I don't want to say this because it's sad to say. Sorry, my godmother is a big supporter of Kamala Harris, and she's actually working in the campaign. But I feel like it's a pipe dream for another. I don't think it's going to be another Black candidate.
Well, even if there was, I mean, the reality is that a president, I mean, any federal politician, but especially a president, you have such a broad field of responsibility. You know what I'm saying? Where the area where the president really has the most impact is foreign policy. You know what I'm saying? What we do with the military, what we do with trade deals, what we, if we put sanctions on this country or not, things like that. Domestic issues are much more handled by Congress, but even Congress people have a much more broad set of responsibilities. So I definitely think that, African Americans, we can think we just need that champion president. But 13% of the population? You know what I'm saying? So, if we're not going to get a candidate who's all about us, because they're not going to win. You know what I'm saying? Because there's so many more people with, America's a huge melting pot. So I definitely think it's important for Black people to get more involved in our communities, because that's where we can make the most difference. Education, for instance, public schooling, that funded primarily through property taxes. That's why schools in inner city communities oftentimes are run down and don't have things up to date. A lot of things like that can be changed through local action. What we're learning in school, our curriculums, things like that can be changed by lobbying local government to include different types of things in our education, one of the, personal finance and how taxes work. Why I'm 27 years old, why am I just now, what I'm saying, really starting to understand the importance of that and how much better communities and society as a whole would be, if things like that would be touched up on. So yes, I think that local government, state, local, city council, things like that, that is where Black people will be able to have the most impact in politics that directly affect us. But that doesn't just mean public affairs. I think that there's a lot of private action that needs to take place as well. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, overall, the federal government, it deals with America on a world scale more than it deals with local politics.
I agree. Yeah, I think local is more the focus we need to be on right now. I think if you really want to make change, you got to start from a grassroots kind of level, from where you're at, man. And we can educate ourselves in politics right now. It's not something we have to go to college, get a bunch of degrees, go and run for office. You can just really do your own research and put 2 and 2 together and just kind of, really help out your community by just being educated in what's going on in the community and going to, you got different town halls going on in cities all the time like that. Go to these events, speak to the politicians that are coming there and ask questions, man. Show you're there. You got a voice, your strong voice. You're not just somebody to be looked and glanced over and forgotten. And if you do that, man, politicians, they notice.
Yeah. Okay, but you guys are, I like the big picture, the macro approach, but on a micro approach, what do you guys specifically think about like the pipe dream of like us like running for the, like, because what's happening is these senators are leaving their posts, right? They're leaving their posts and they're running. They want to be the president. Like everybody thinks whenever the presidency happens, whenever it's like every 4 years, that's the main focus. But what happens is we always lose sight of all the domestic, all the like the little local level seats that are vacant. The fact that there's no governor that is of color, does that not make you say, I wonder
I didn't even know that.
Right. Yeah. And honestly, and it's not like, and that's just now, but honestly, there's like maybe 10 overall in US history. And I don't think there's ever been a woman. I don't think there's ever been a black woman governor, if I'm not mistaken. But actually, from what I saw, ever. So doesn't that make you kind
mayors, of... I don't know governors.
Yeah. Exactly. But you understand that you guys understand like the difference with what a governor does versus what a mayor does, right? Mm-hmm. And a governor is more valuable to the state than, say, a mayor because the governor actually handles the finance, where everything's going. Mm-hmm. So when we get mad and say, oh, like, for instance, and I'm speaking specifically because majority of black people happen to be Democratic, what happens is people get upset like, oh, the mayor of this place is not doing the job. Mayor of this place is not doing their job, but they don't have access to they're not the ones moving the money. Mm-hmm. So if we had that, like, I'll give you an example. Miss Mayor of Atlanta, Bottoms, what's her, I can't remember her first name. Not state.
Yeah, I'm not.
I think it's Bottoms. That's her last name, yeah, Mayor Bottoms. Sure. But I could actually look that up. But she just did recently. She was able to raise funds for homeless people, right, in Atlanta to kind of help eradicate the issues there. Mm-hmm. And again, it's access to fund. And Atlanta is is like the metropolis for people of color because that's one of the places where people are actually advancing in their community. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? Yeah. So it's just, I wonder why more of us are not going locally. Why are we not going to, let's go run for city council. Let's go run for, state legislator. Let's go run for, lieutenant governor. Like, why aren't we, or judges, why aren't we taking more positions and judgeships? We're upset at these Democrats like, hey, you guys are not doing your job, but are we in the positions to get these these laws changed?
I think for the most part, we just don't know.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? That's why we're here.
Education, man.
That's why we're here.
Education.
Keisha Lance Bottoms. That's her name.
Keisha
Lance Bottoms. Yes.
But yeah, I think it's mainly because we just don't know. And actually, before you came in, we were talking a little bit about something that a lot of people may not. Oh, it's all good. Something that a lot of people may not know. How you said like we can have pipe dreams and. While people are presidents or mayors, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Like while Obama was president, the Democrats lost over 1,000 seats nationwide.
Okay.
In national, state, and local levels.
I'm glad you brought that up. Please, with that statement, what do you think is the reason for that?
Because the establishment approach is not working for people. And I think that, we have a very corporate, corrupted government, and that's primarily who politicians serve. Mm-hmm. The majority of people in office were put there because they were financed by big pharma or big oil or
lobbyist money.
Yeah, so that's primarily who they serve. And Obama in 2007 and when he won in 2008, he won on a progressive platform. I know, he was pushing
change,
for public, right, hope and change. He went from yes we can to no we shouldn't.
Real talk.
But yeah, so hope and change, yes we can. He ran on. I know he was pushing a public option. He may have even been pushing single payer early on, but he pushed for a public option.
Yeah.
He
universal health care.
Yeah, yeah, right. He pushed for all of that. But when he got in office, it was just kind of more the same, more.
But what do you think? You guys we have to, because these are all nuanced kind of things that we're talking about. A lot of things that one thing that people always say, Chris is not a Obama supporter. And
I voted for him. I campaigned for him in 2008.
Yeah, but you hate him now.
Of course, because he lied. Yeah, he lied. You lied to me. We got a problem.
Did you know that Obamacare is actually a Republican plan?
Wow.
Romney Care. That's Mitt Romney.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Romney Care. I remember Trump throwing shade at him.
I remember they were working. Wasn't he working behind? I remember something about he was a supporter or something.
He did it in his state. He did it in his state first, and then Obama took it from the state and put it on a federal level.
So it worked.
It's a Republican plan.
So why are Republicans so against it? Because
partisan politics.
No. That's a nice way of saying it. Let's say the real way. What's the real reason why Republicans didn't want this to be successful?
Partisan politics.
I mean racism.
I mean, yeah, but
Mittens did it first, and Mittens is a clown to us.
Well,
so he's a joke.
That definitely.
Mitt Romney.
Mittens.
Yeah, that's what I call him.
Well, Bain Capital, right. But who Patrick Duvall
rich man
works for, and now he just jumped in the race.
Oh God.
But
another one.
But basically, obviously, obviously there was a huge racist backlash to Obama's presidency.
Okay,
but. I mean, that's not the first time. I mean, Bill Clinton got impeached because he lied about getting.
But he's not black. This is this is America.
I know,
we have to start with surface things. I know you have because you understand politics in a different way, and I understand partisan levels. Everybody stands on their side. I get that. However, I will say that. If we're going to talk about identity politics being a big issue, we also have to talk about one thing that I always think that people get black people are supporting black president because he's black. And it's we've had 44 presidents prior to Obama, and every one of them were white. So I think that's what you guys have been doing. We just actually had one that was actually good. If we're going to take, we're just taking your
Jackson.
lead. Right. It wasn't Jesse in 84. No. So a lot of this stuff, we heard a lot of these Republicans saying, I'm not supporting Obama. I'm not going to let him win. I'm not going to let him do anything. He's going to be a one-term president.
Mitt Romney. Well, no, I mean, Mitch McConnell.
Mitch McConnell. Oh my God. Yeah. Famously said how he thinks that he's not going to support him.
One-term president, yeah.
Is that,
well, yeah, again, identity politics does play a bigger role in this country than people realize or are willing to admit. But again, the fact that the Affordable Care Act had the word Obama in it, that definitely played. But again, you got the partisan divide right now has definitely been it was definitely increased when Obama was in there, but it existed before he was in there. It
but
really did.
Not to the level of we are now.
Not to the level we are now. But it did exist.
It did exist.
Yeah, but
and the media had a big part to do with it. So.
Possibly,
but I mean, there's no denying. Factually. There's no denying though that there was a huge backlash to the fact that a black man was in the White House.
Right.
But at the same time, I think that we don't do ourselves justice by saying that that's the only reason or that people
Facts.
Don't like him.
Facts. Because
there were many flaws with his presidency, as there are with anyone's who would be president. But yeah, but back to them losing over 1,000 seats while he was in office. Again, I think it's and after him came Trump. Trump came along. He ran on a populist platform, drain the swamp, bring the jobs back, a whole bunch of other things, but he talked about giving people health care. He talked about raising wages. Which is exactly the type of stuff Obama talked about when he ran. Mm-hmm. Those types of things win elections, and those types of things stay popular with people. Now, obviously, you have to follow through on them for people. But if you do follow through, that's how you keep your base. Right. But the Democratic establishment they, again, just...
The only person I think in the modern time, sorry to cut you off, but I would say is Clinton, who literally, that's what he ran on. And also actually, like, he actually was helping the people. Like, he was a president.
No, Trump is doing that right now. He's helped the black community out way more than Obama has ever have. That's a fact. When it comes to prison reform, when it comes to the education system, when it comes to NYCHA in New York City, how much he's donated housing authority here. He's millions of dollars a month he gives to NYCHA. And of course, Cuomo and de Blasio, don't want to say his name, I call him, but de Blasio screwed it up. Where'd the money going? And he's running for president when you're freaking mayor? Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, why don't you take care of the city that you're in right now? We need as much help as we can get. And Trump has been a man of his word. That's why his base is still strong. It's stronger now than it was in 2016. And it's not a coincidence. It's because he actually implemented what he said he was going to do.
Okay.
Yeah, he did. I mean, it was a variety of things. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Trump. So, but I understand his appeal, and I understand why he won. But again, the thing, to me, Trump, I don't think he ever really believed he was going to win. I think that he did this because he was going to set up Trump TV Network. It was all about marketing and branding, like everything else he's ever done.
I didn't take him seriously at first. I thought he was just business. I was looking at Dr. Ben Carson, who initially got me looking at the right, and I just thought Trump was like, nah, he's not. But when I did take him seriously after the media screwed Dr. Ben Carson with the lies of the West Point issue, I looked deeper into Trump, and I said, well, this guy was speaking this same thing he's saying now. He was saying in the 80s when he was on an interview with Oprah, he was saying similar things. So I'm like, if he's serious, he's got my back, man. Bro, you better be serious because I'm going out on a limb with you. And I'm glad he, continued to follow through with it.
So what has Trump done that's been so great for people of color? What do you guys feel that makes it that people of color in a better circumstance than they ever were?
Well, I don't feel like that necessarily, but I can what was the bill with Cory Booker? That Cory Booker, Chuck Grassley, the First Step Act. That's something tangible that can be pointed to.
There you go.
Outside of that, but again, I don't credit him for that because Cory Booker, Chuck Grassley, a bunch of other people, but it can be pointed to. Other than that, I don't know necessarily.
Are you in a better position?
Definitely. I keep saying, I said it about this, probably the 50th time I said it on our show. I'm making $80 per week after taxes more after the middle class tax cut. As soon as the tax cut was passed, I sold the money. It wasn't like, oh, here, I got this bill passed. And it's like, okay, well, where is it?
Well, I think that worked for some people. Some
people. But I talked to quite a few people that felt that tax cut as well.
But in general, the problem, and I think that this is important for people to understand, the very fact that we only have two choices, like real choices in parties, is the problem with American politics. Because the duopoly that the Republican and Democratic parties have on our politics makes them in a lot of ways one and the same. Like
establishment.
You know what I'm saying? Like obviously the Democrats are a little bit more left-leaning and the Republicans are more right-leaning, but both of them are thoroughly corrupted with corporate money. And that I think is the biggest issue and why there was a lot of, like the over 1,000 seats being lost because people are voting for you because you're saying you're going to do this stuff and you get in office and you don't really fight for it. You know what I'm saying? So
do you not feel like Obama fought for a lot of things for people of color? The minute he opened up, the minute he said black person, I'm black, it literally erupted in wars. People were like, how could you say you're a black person? You're a black father. How dare you put yourself in the middle of this issue? It's just, he literally couldn't do anything.
No, you got to forget.
And he fought, Republicans did not want to work with him. He literally was handcuffed on every single thing.
Not when he had the House and Senate, though. They were Democrats at one point. For this 2 years, he didn't do nothing.
Obama, he's a mixed bag.
He did do some stuff, though.
He's a mixed. Like, here's the best things, in my opinion, that he got done when he was president. Towards the end of his presidency, he started releasing nonviolent people with nonviolent drug offenses. He started doing that. The Iran deal was good.
That was amazing.
It kept them It kept them from developing. Well, it
kept them quiet.
I don't know, but I don't know.
The
Iran deal was suspect to me, man, because this is a country that hates our guts. They have radical Islam over there that wants Christians and Jews just slaughtered. And I don't know if you give people like that money to build a nuclear program with that money.
No. We gave them back the money that we sanctioned. Yeah. We gave them back money that.
Well, let's let you. Yeah, not to go all into that.
Right.
In my opinion, it did a decent job. It keeping them from developing nuclear weapons, but without getting more into the other
semantics,
things than that. Legalizing gay marriage is something that is big for a lot of people. There are a lot of people who may not be, but again, these are tangible things.
Yeah, black community's a lot of Christians though, so that kind of
what I'm saying. But my biggest criticism of Obama is he's not a fighter. He's not.
Thank you.
I like him. You know what I'm saying? But I think that he tried too much to compromise with people who did not want to compromise with him.
Yep.
And so
he's an intellect, though. You have to intellects. They sometimes can say, though, you're pragmatist. You overthink things, and he's thinking like laterally. He's thinking of he's thinking 10 years ahead. Well, he's not just making a decision like let's fight. And I appreciate what's the saying? Steady hand, versus
and I just think that again he had a super majority, and the only reason we have Obamacare is because Nancy Pelosi made him do it. He almost was like, nah, because again it was like Obama's he's a centrist, he's a moderate, and that's cool, but I think that again he ran on hope and change, and yes we can. And that's not really who he is.
You think so?
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, look, a fighter wouldn't have been trying to compromise.
A fighter, we would have universal health care if he was Trump right now. If he fought like Trump.
If he again, I don't.
Could he fight like Trump and be black?
Definitely. Because the people then. You get your base. Get your base, man.
Yes,
got your back.
Yeah, and that's
the base is we're 15%.
His base was insane.
His base
you mean Democratic?
Huge.
You mean talking about Democrat?
The Democratic base.
Yeah.
His base was huge when he won.
Absolutely,
was huge. And again,
because it was about hope. Everybody believed in the message.
And again, but I think that what people expected from him isn't who he is. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not the guy who's that's not him.
Okay.
So but again, I think that this also kind of goes back to where we originally started with the importance of us focusing more on state and local politics. Because again, even if he was a super fighter, the president is responsible for so many things. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So
not a figurehead, man. People like to think that, but the president has a lot of responsibility.
They're managing the country.
Right.
That's basically it. So there's only ever going to be so much that can happen. But
So long story short, do you guys all agree that we need, if we want to see measurable changes, we need to? I mean, obviously, it's not a majority of everybody running for president. We get that, but there are other seats that can be taken, especially since we're talking to people of color on this podcast. This is one of the things that we like to strengthen in our community. If you're out there and you're thinking of running for something, run local. Start community level. Start trying to fix the problem in your radius. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Instead of trying to
run on a district level.
Right, right.
Because again, that's how we address the issues that really impact us on a day-to-day basis.
You want to talk about?
Hey guys, it's Maxine here with a special message for our listeners. I want to thank you for listening to Politics Podcast and wanted to share an exciting offer to entrepreneurs and supporters. We are now offering businesses the opportunity to be advertised on our show during this mid-roll. If you're interested, please email hello@politicspodcast.com. We are also taking support from our listeners through the Anchor app. Just click the Support This Podcast button and you can give whatever you want. The funding is helpful to increase our production so we can add video and start marketing and advertising for our podcast. We appreciate you and please continue to listen to the show.
You want to talk about incarceration? You want to talk about that? If you work in the local level, you can get these kids into schools. once kids are in school, they're not out there committing any crimes and then going straight to the criminal pipeline. You know, you know that like kids that don't go to school, I think it's like, is it 5th grade or is it 3rd grade? Oh, I think it's 3rd grade. They can tell once you're in 3rd grade whether you're going to end up in prison or if you're going to end up going to college. So like we should be focusing on like teachers and in strengthening our communities and strengthening and getting better judges, you know, that can, because the thing is these laws are already in place. So it's happened. Like a very interesting point. I can't remember who was saying this. I think it was Byron Allen. I keep talking about Byron Allen. He's so awesome. He mentioned something where he said that, you know, when what is I can't remember the gentleman's name who was choked and
Eric Garner.
Yeah. Excuse me, rest in peace. Eric Gardner was selling cigarettes in front of a store, right? And that was he was like a usual petty crime, you know, just nothing, just selling cigarettes,
trying to
get by, take care of his family. Shouldn't be selling. It's illegal.
Yeah.
But it's a misdemeanor, right? And what we need to do, and Byron Allen said something where, and I'm not quoting him word for word, but he said, what we need to do is we need to get to a point where we are no longer, like, we are owning the stores, right? He's standing in front of his store versus standing in front of another store selling cigarettes, like, you know, selling Lucy's, as we'd call it in New York. You know, he would be, it's his store. He's standing out there. He's minding his business. He's doing the right thing because he's invested properly. He's an entrepreneur. He's taking care of his business. Versus the system has always been corrupted from the get-go, from when he was in elementary school, when he probably went and did time and had issues and family structure. His family wasn't strong, and you know, this is the result, because someone that, you know, is selling cigarettes probably doesn't have that many options for them, right? So what I hope is, on the local level, if we start fixing these type of problems, getting people in position locally, you won't, like, the first step back, all those things won't matter, because we're taken care of. Do you understand what I'm saying?
And that's what I said about the police as well. I said if we took care of our neighborhoods and there was no crime in our neighborhoods, why would the police be swarming around? We could be like white people when they had these suburban areas. The police come in, they're like, what are you doing here? They're like,
I don't like that.
I do like that.
I think we should.
I don't like that.
I do like that. And I think we need to own our stores too. You want to own them? Watch the Arabs and the Chinese. They come in our neighborhoods all the time, take over these stores.
But wait, what do you mean?
So if we watch them, maybe we'll learn from them, because what they do is they teach their kids at a young age. At 8, 9 years old, they're in the store running the cash register.
Right.
So they're teaching a kid at a very young age, even during school time. This is how you run a business.
But what do you mean by
fatherhood?
But what do you mean by what are you doing in this neighborhood? What is that? What do you mean by that?
I mean that if there's no crime neighborhood, police will be swarming around a neighborhood where there's nothing going on. Why are you patrolling a neighborhood when there's nothing going on here?
Well, I think one of the biggest problems with our police system is that people are police in areas that they're not from. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. That's a huge problem.
Very good point.
You know, so I think that, you know, from like an economy where you're supporting yourself with your own dollars, you know what I'm saying, building, you know, being entrepreneurs in your own community, I think that also should extend to policing, because, you know, I mean, systemic issue, if you're just a lot of, you know, kids who are committing crimes, like, they're just kids, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't have guidance, they don't have money, they don't have a lot of things, their schools, you know what I'm saying? So it's a complicated issue, and I think that where it does start is, I think that people like us need to get more involved in the community so that we can start teaching at a young age. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because if that doesn't happen, then there aren't going to be any leaders in communities. And
there you go. I mentioned what we were talking about earlier about the program that you're in Jersey when it comes to helping the young black youth out. Because I say all the time on this podcast, what we need to do, for one, bring fathers back in the household. That's going to be a huge factor to help out our community. But before even then, we can help out the youth now that don't have that kind of leadership in the household by getting out there as grown men who've done it, going out there and helping them and showing them, hey, lead by example. Just, you don't have to go take this negative option, this criminal option. Just look right here. Like you can be just like me. It's not that hard.
Right.
This is how you do it. Boom, boom, boom.
And that's extremely important.
All right. Well, I'm glad that we kind of all are kind of saying the same thing, just in different ways, but but we're
Come
all
back to the same.
But it's all the centering. We're all on the same page here. So okay. So this next topic was kind of a question that I had. I really was interested in hearing Walt's opinion on this. It's the Colin Kaepernick recent workout. Now, he had the chance to work out with NFL teams, yet there was some drama as Colin last minute moved the practice to another venue after he was denied access to his cameramen. So my question to you guys is, did Kaepernick make the right choice in moving the workout space? Or is this like a self-sabotage? Did he self-sabotage his chances of playing in the NFL?
I mean, truthfully, I don't really care about sports that much.
See, that's why Walt.
So, so in my opinion,
have you and Walt talked about? And the only reason why I'm interested is because obviously Walt used to play for the NFL. So, have you guys even met? Does he have any? I
mean,
because I know you guys watch ESPN. I'm sure.
Well, here's the thing for me, and when the dude doesn't have to play in the league. So, he's going to be okay. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be all right.
He's not going to be oppressed.
He's been out the game for 3 years. So, if he does get picked up, I don't particularly think he's going to be a superstar. If he can play great, perhaps he could have flipped a situation to where he didn't even really need to go back and play. You had all that attention. You had all those eyes on you. Maybe you could have... done. I mean, I can't speak for him because I'm not him. I wouldn't want to play again, put my body through all that hell after.
Right.
So again, I don't think he's gonna come back and be Hercules or anything. You know what I'm saying?
So do you think it's a self-sabotage? Do you think he wants? So from what you're saying, you're thinking he doesn't want to play because he apparently. I'm sorry, guys. I'm actually I'm having my dinner because I'm doing the intermittent fasting, so I have to get this in before
that's right.
before my cut off.
Your time's coming, man.
Yeah, so that's why I have my meal. I'm sorry.
Get that in.
Yeah. So do you feel like it's a self-sabotage?
I don't think that Colin Kaepernick ever had the slightest clue that him taking a knee would blow up to be this big.
Okay.
I don't think he had any idea that it was going to become such a polarizing, politicized issue.
Right.
And I think that ever since everything's blown up, he's
he has to
he doesn't really
die on the sword.
Yeah, I don't think he really I don't think he really knows what he wants to do. So I think he's just kind of, but again, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't really care about sports. So to tell you the truth, I really don't care. I don't care at all if he plays again. But the reality, he don't need to. He He got some type of settlement from the NFL. So he paid. Nike paid him. And again, he has a huge platform. So if he really wants to, he can do plenty of other things. So.
But this particular incident, what do you think? Do you think it's self-sabotage, Chris?
Oh, definitely. I mean, this is all for show.
Okay, so you don't think he even wants to play?
No, not at all. He did this whole workout where he set it up in a way where it's he brings attention on him, and it's and my problem with Kaepernick was when the cameras are on you, you have no message. Well, and it's you're supposed to. That's my beef with him. It's
what.
You are not who I thought you would be. I thought you'd be a lot more liberal than this.
I'm more well.
Come on now.
No, he's right. It's fine. He's independent minded.
I just have a more of a nuanced view of it because, there's certain things to talk about with Kaepernick. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? The whole, the whole conversation about him kneeling and what it represented is and how the NFL treated him is a different conversation. You know what I'm saying? Than what we're talking about right now. And I mean, whatever to me, honestly. I don't watch sports. Listen, my dad, he's, I'm 27. My people older. They old school. My dad almost 70.
Oh, but, wow,
But my dad said he was over Colin Kaepernick when Colin Kaepernick said that he didn't vote in 2016. He said I was over him when he said that because it's you know what I'm saying? So again, I think that Colin had he didn't have any idea that this was going to get so big. Mm-hmm. But again, that kind of does say a lot. Like, you know,
it's NFL, man. You know, this is Americana football. You know, you disrespect. You know, it's something to do with the flag. So even if you feel like it wasn't disrespect, you're doing something to the flag.
He's becoming. Do you feel like he's just becoming way too radical, and it's just like he's a liability to a team to like at this point?
I think it's his girlfriend is too radical, and she controls him. Yeah.
Really? What makes you think that?
Yeah, because she said some crazy stuff in the past. Like when he was already signed by the Ravens, Ravens came out and said, "Look, we're going to sign." This is during when the Neil Gate everything. You know, 49ers got rid of him. Ravens said, "We're going to pick you up." Then his girlfriend goes on Instagram and calls Ray Lewis and the owner. He calls Ray Lewis Uncle Tom, and like he works on the plantation with the slave owner, who is the white dude owner. I forgot bad with names. Who owns the Ravens? And then Ray Lewis, you know, they said he can't have the position now. And then Ray Lewis had to come out and say, "Look, man. Look, we're about to give this guy the job, man. Like, he had it, and we can't sign him now. He disrespected me, the star player, throughout the history of our team, and the owner. Of course we can't sign him now." So,
wasn't Ray Lewis a little bit, like, again, like, wasn't he saying, like, some bad things about Colin?
No. Ray Lewis ruined
not to kneel, like, it's
he said initially he was kind of iffy about it because he knew the backlash that would come. And then he said, "Look, kneeling's okay, but kneeling, let's do it in a prayer way. Let's all hold hands, kneel together, and pray." And that messed up his career by doing that, because he had his own podcast doing vlogging. He was blowing up. As soon as he participated in the way, the NFL, the fans of the league cut him off. So he put his neck out the line for Kaepernick, and then got him a job. And then his girlfriend just destroys the whole thing. And then he plays victim. "Oh, what about me? I need a job. I'm looking at NFL again." Shut up, you punk. You wore a Fidel Castro shirt in Miami in a game where everybody knows anybody from Miami who's Cuban, they're mostly Republican because they had to escape from Fidel.
Yep, that's
so they escaped Fidel. He wore a Fidel Castro shirt.
He came over and Reagan got them on. Yep.
Yeah, exactly, man. Mm-hmm. When I saw that, I'm like, this guy ain't serious, man. This guy's just doing this for show. Because if you were educated on what's going on with people in these communities, you would know not to wear that shirt in Miami. And it's just like shows me he's just doing it because he knows he's getting attention. And he was a third stringer at the time, wasn't even starting.
He doesn't have a plan.
No.
You don't think? I think he's at this point. It's just because we don't even know what we're standing up for him for, because
he didn't continue it. It didn't turn into anything. Right. Like it was, you know.
So you think that what Jay-Z's saying about, like, you know, we should work with the NFL because, like, at least we're working towards something? Like,
I mean, Jay's
a capitalist.
Another conversation.
Yeah, I mean, ain't nothing we can, and NFL ain't going nowhere. It ain't going nowhere, and most of the players in it, there's somebody is black. You know what I'm saying?
You,
so
man.
that's not going to change. So I think that, you know, I mean, Jay-Z gonna do what he do. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a capitalist, and he's gonna be a capitalist. Mm-hmm. And I think that, you know, like, people are outraged about things for 3 days, and then it's whatever.
Yeah, we get a new Facebook update. And oh yeah, okay, look at this.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, so like you know, if Jay has, you know, yeah, he's not a politician. He's not an activist. He's a businessman,
right?
And he's done some tangible good things for people. Mm-hmm. And I think that, you know,
it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is.
So let's get to the next topic. So a Texas woman was sentenced to 10 years in a federal prison after sending in explosives through the mail to President Obama's home, which makes me wonder, was it really worth it to lose 10 years of your life? Are people becoming too obsessed with politics, you think? Like, at this point, we talked about bipartisan, but do you think that this woman is going to lose 10 years of her life because she had to get, like, she thought she was sending a message, or she was trying to commit, like, you know, like trying to be the martyr, and whatever she thought, or maybe she was trying to kill him, you know? Do you think that, like, we're at an all-time level of, like, obsession of crazy political, like, when does it stop?
Not an all time. It's just part of the cycle.
Right. I guess Lincoln would be okay because.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Well,
so have we always been? Is this part of, like, it's always going to be this way?
It's I think it's just it's the political cycle. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's just there. You come to a point where the way you've been doing things don't work no more. then people rally and they change everything. And during those periods of change, everything's is more radical, more of a radical atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? And then once you get a kind of a new system in place that does a better job addressing, the modern world and the future world, then things kind of chill out a little bit more, and then it doesn't work, and then you start all over again. So I think that's just kind of where we at right now. And two, more specifically, this really started, I think, when Ronald Reagan became president.
Oh my God, you took the words out of my mind. I literally, while you were talking, I said, "Oh, Ronald Reagan started this." That's what I said. It's crazy.
That started the kind of
because he was like the reality star of that time. He was an actor, and that's one of the people say that.
Well, I was saying it more for he moved politics to the right.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Okay. Like before Ronald Reagan was president, the economic policies in America were much more left wing. Like right now, billionaires is talking about, we can't do this. We've done much of the things that are big, like
breaking up like big businesses. Like this has been happening from back in FDR?
FDR and before. But I mean, whether it's that, I mean, from the 30s, from the Great Depression until 1980, the wealthy were taxed much more. Corporations were taxed much more. It was very common, mental health clinics and things like that were about a lot more. Reagan, he shifted the Overton window more to the right, smaller government, deregulation, cutting taxes, things like that. And that actually really shifted the Democratic Party to the right too, because after Reagan, came George Bush and then Bill Clinton, and he was the new Democrat. He was the triangulator. He was the guy, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not
workers. He was for the people.
Well,
people.
You can say you're for the people, but when you do a 3 strikes law.
Well, 3 strikes, NAFTA, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, and I'm not saying it to speak.
What's wrong with NAFTA?
It ended up resulting in a lot of jobs being shifted overseas.
Yep.
So like the free trade agree, like that's right wing. That's not left wing. Like free trade is not a left wing position. It's the reality of the world. But
that's where we can't live in America and ignore the world. Like
true. I'm just.
Yeah, but we can't give jobs to the world. Our jobs to the world.
I'm just saying, well,
then you guys got to go to school and be, and compete.
We are competing. We are America. We're the top.
Not in education.
I was just saying,
not in technology. You go to China, I guarantee there's little kids that are coding at 7 years old.
Yeah, and they're still throwing girls off of cliffs when they're born. That's 70% males in China right now.
But
Come on. China has a lot of problems.
I was just bringing up Reagan to say that's around the time period when politics started to become a bit more right wing in terms of like our economic approaches and things like that. In fact, corporate stock buybacks were illegal until Ronald Reagan became president.
Right.
So like things like that is real. So since 1980, we've been moving more right. Now we're about to go back the other way. So it's just that's just kind of how it works. It goes back and forth.
Seesaw us back. All right. Well, hopefully we get there back, because this obsession for, I see people saying I'd rather be Russian than be a Democrat. It's like, what? The hell?
Who said that?
Just like crazy.
Yeah, crazy
woman.
People. Yeah,
that was
that's like that
Trump supporter. Like, I'd rather be Russian than be okay, girl. Anyways, all right, let's get to the next topic, because I want to squeeze in 2 more topics. So White House advisor Stephen Miller caught sending emails to his white nationalist friends. People, Hillary Clinton just said that he should be, he should resign. He should be taken out of office. But what do you guys think? Do you think it's fair game for him to have?
I mean, we knew that about him.
Yeah, he's been a troll since.
Yeah, and he's bright. Is he Breitbart? Is he part of that?
He's just.
Stephen Miller, man.
Yeah, we've known that. It's not, to me, like it's nothing. It's not new. I mean,
that's what I thought. That's why I was like, why is this like becoming news?
Yeah,
because they're trying to get Trump with the impeachment. Oh, look, she's a bad guy. Look, every little thing they can find. Look.
He does have a lot of stuff. Man.
But every president has a lot of stuff. Every president. Come on, look at Andrew Jackson. I mean, come on, we got to talk about his
Andrew Jackson.
The Trail of Tears. Raping black women.
Right,
and that's one thing. That's history. You can say, oh, that's years ago. That's still history.
Hundreds of years.
It still doesn't matter. It happened. And America always wants to do this. Well, it's happening. What about now?
Correct.
What about 8 years ago? What about 12 years ago? What about when Bill Clinton was biting prostitutes' lips off when he was in Arkansas? We can talk about that. Juanita Broderick. Look at the name. Google that.
He loves talking about Juanita.
And bring it. It's true though.
That.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the most bitter by a limb off. But she took him to court and he bought her out because she knew it was true. But, so there's a lot going on here. Mm-hmm. And we just, when the media chooses to say, well, look at it, then people start looking. But when it happens and media doesn't say nothing, people are like, oh, well, it never happened. Mm-hmm. And I say, no, look deeper.
I hear you, Chris, but I also feel like just if we're in the conversation of today, because you're one day going to have children, you're thinking about tomorrow. Let's talk about right now, because we can talk about Andrew Jackson.
We can talk about right now.
We could talk about Lincoln. We could talk about all those people, but that doesn't really affect today, because today we've got this president in office. And should today Stephen Miller be sitting in the president's ear advising him on, on these immigration bills and stuff, when he seems to be very, he might have some racist ideologies.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest problem with Trump is he doesn't know anything and he's not interested. To me, that's how I see it. He's not very interested. He didn't really want the job, and he's just kind of flailing about. And sometimes he'll do some stuff that may land. And I mean, he tweets. He's not focused. That's my biggest problem with him. So at some point, Trump's going to be gone, whether it's in 2020 or 2024. The bigger problem that we have in America is really not Trump. It's the whole system. It's the whole system itself. It doesn't represent the people. It just doesn't. Right. It represents corporate interest. It represents what the wealthiest Americans in this country want. Mm-hmm. And that's the overlying problem. You know what I'm saying? Because when Trump's gone, there'll
be another person.
Well, let's say
even a Democrat.
Let's say Bernie Sanders. Say Bernie Sanders
Please
wins.
No.
That's my dude.
I know. I'm an Andrew Yang supporter.
I like Andrew Yang too.
Right.
And that also highlights the problem with our voting system. We can only vote for one person. If we had a ranked choice voting system,
Who would you vote for?
Andrew Yang would be my second choice.
All right. I appreciate
But again,
you for that.
how much I like him a lot. I like him, but again, that's we have so much bigger problems than whoever's in office.
But what makes you think Bernie Sanders is why do you feel like Bernie Sanders is the person that's going to, do better? And what because I just can't see, he's been in the Senate for, was it 40 years?
Oh yeah,
40 years. And I can't think of 3 policies that he's.
I have a graphic prepared for just that statement.
Okay, because I can't think of them. I can't.
Oh yeah.
That he's pushed and he's created.
Providing 9 million more Americans with primary health care, 2 million more with dental care, and 860,000 more with mental health services through a $12.5 billion expansion. And community health centers. The thing about the Amazon workers with a $15 minimum wage, and that with Disney, restoring $320 million in pension benefits to 130,000 IBM workers. 7 states and over 40 cities passed $15 an hour minimum wage laws, much on the cusp of his pushing for things like that. Veterans,
but it
things.
happened after,
it's a big list. So he's done things. So,
but what's his bill? He voted for the crime bill. He's against it, but he voted for the crime bill. He was a supporter. Did he vote for the war too?
No.
Oh, he didn't vote for the war. Okay. No. Sorry. Okay, just asking. No. He was because he talks. So I don't know if looks like he's against it now, the crime bill, but he also supported it and signed off. You know what I mean? So I don't see where a lot of the things you said sounds great. The pension bill. I hear what you're saying, but what about people of color seem to surround themselves with Bernie, and I just don't see what he's done. The
$15 minimum wage had a huge impact on people of color because for the most part, people of color don't make
Disney,
a lot of money.
Where was this? Look.
Yeah,
but they don't.
But the truth be told,
AOC killed the Amazon jobs.
But yeah, that's that.
Well, look, truth be told, there isn't a single candidate who's done a lot groundbreaking things.
No, but 40 years, you kind of wonder, right? For 40 years, you kind of wonder, like...
There's a list of 20 things on there. That's, I mean, again, but beyond that, because it's not necessarily that on why he's my guy. Because, like Elizabeth Warren made the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Yeah.
There's...
They all have certain things, but what I want to say is that, because you're talking about breaking up the system, that's why I say, like, someone like Andrew Yang, like... People said that they wanted an outsider. That's an outsider.
I like him, but he's just not going to win. It's not going to because he doesn't have enough support. It's not happening. If you don't have 15% in Iowa, people can't vote for you. So, and he's nowhere near that. So basically, it's just set up he just can't win. You know what I'm saying? Like, so unfortunately, again, that highlights some of the bigger problems. Like, it's like you might want to support people,
right?
But here's why I'm a Bernie supporter.
Please tell me.
For 40 years, he has had the integrity to fight for what he's fought for. Even if you don't agree with it, you know what you're going to get with Bernie. He has a real movement behind him that seems to be rather unshaking. Mm-hmm. His campaign approach is very effective. The grassroots, he only raises money from small dollar donors, and he's raising more money than everyone else. So just like from... a tactician perspective, I feel that he has the biggest base. He has the most I don't give an F attitude. Mm-hmm. He's not a compromiser.
And this is his second run, so he has, like, Andrew Yang is going to be like a 2024 type of president if he doesn't win, now. I think he's the type of president that if he keeps on this, especially with the way the industry is changing, mm-hmm. like, I think that he'll be someone that people will pay attention to. I think he doesn't have enough time to publicize. Like, people don't even know he's running. And that's
the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so again, like, for me, Bernie's my guy because out of everything I've seen, he has, the top four, all of them have their own paths to victory. We'll see who wins. Mm-hmm. There is a path. There is a game plan.
Right.
That those four people.
Who are the four that you're saying?
Bernie Sanders. Joe Biden,
yeah.
Unfortunately, Pete Buttigieg,
yeah.
and Elizabeth Warren.
Okay, what's your thing with Pete? What do you not like about Pete?
He's just a totally media-created, fabricated, run-of-the-mill, standard, do-nothing guy.
I'm married, I'm gay, and I drink 40s. Look at me.
Like, it don't mean nothing. And two, he has a horrible record with black people.
Absolutely.
Horrible.
0% of them.
And South Carolina and
yeah, I saw the Quinnipiac. I just watched the Quinnipiac
he told me
poll.
This before we talked. He told me that. I was like, wow.
I was going through like the Quinnipiac polling just randomly because mm-hmm. I'm kind of a nerd now and I'm like, wait. Andrew Yang has more, like, I think it's 1% or 2%, but he even is a step ahead. And it's like, how on earth are we going to put Pete as the front runner in Iowa? And why is the media pushing this guy?
Because
the media.
Because he's
gay, and it's easier.
No, it's he panders a lot too.
Because he's gay. That gives another white man a chance, right? In Democratic, he's easy on the eyes. He's not unattractive. He's sweet. I find him to be
7 languages.
He's really intelligent. He's like, he went to Harvard. Like, he's a really, honestly, I like him as a person. I would love to meet him. I would love to talk to him. But as a president, I'm like, what the heck?
The most important thing, though, the reason the media props him up is because he's on board with their politics.
Right.
Bigger than anything.
And he's like easy packaged. Well, no, he's not easy because some people we're talking now, but we don't even know. Remember, this is just Democrats. Like, amongst Democrats, we're accepting of a gay
Oh, he would not.
Leader.
He would not.
But against Trump, a man who's standing 6'2" and him and bringing his 6'3" and he brings his wife Ivanka and he has his
doesn't
husband,
care
and he says stuff like
alpha male.
and that's also why I want Bernie to go against him, because
two old men going at each other.
But Bernie doesn't care. All of them are old.
No, Bernie should have been against him in 2016. I was more fearful of Bernie than I was of Hillary.
And again, he does, like, so
and I feel bad. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I have to say I feel bad because I didn't give Bernie a chance. I still don't really. I just my thing with Bernie. I'll just tell you really quick. I'll just tell you really quick what my thing is. I'm gonna try to slip in one more topic, but I feel like Bernie is he seems like he's anti-establishment. I think that's fine, but I just don't like that he was so like Wall Street. He's against Wall Street. He's against big business. I get everything you're saying, right? But I also feel like he's the guy shouting at the bar. Like, I don't feel like he's the guy that's literally going to be able to go and work and get in the office. Once we vote you in, it's like he's just going to put up his hands like, well, I tried, guys. They don't want to work with me. What am I supposed to do?
I totally disagree.
I haven't seen him do anything with any Republicans that would even give him a fighting chance.
Well, here's the thing, though. This is why I disagree. One,
and then let me say one more thing, and you can say. And then the other thing that I disliked about Bernie is the fact that he also was very like this whole thing about I was there with Martin Luther King. Great, everybody gives him like this big round of applause, like, wow, he's so amazing for being with Martin Luther King. Like, I don't think he should get a round of applause for that. I think that's any decent white person in the 1960s. If you weren't standing with Martin, yeah, exactly. So if you were not working with the Martin Luther King, that means you were working like you were for thus the destruction of black people. Like, there's no like, hello, it's not like you were being a human being. That's what you were doing. Like, why are we applauding you? And then for 40 years, you're gone. I haven't seen you do anything for blacks in 40 years.
But again, that's you haven't seen it. So I'm just saying, all of them, if any of the people, if we look at it, we'll see things that we don't know.
Correct.
But my thing about the reality of the way our politics is right now, and this is actually one of Obama's biggest flaws. The Republicans don't want to work with you. They don't. That's not a thing. Like, there's no such thing as we're going to get the perfect person who's going to go and
Clinton got things done with Republicans,
but
he did
once he was willing to do it.
Once he was willing to do it, and we're not quite, but we're also, it's way more, the partisan divide is way more extreme now.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So like, there's no such thing as the candidate who's going to go in there and the Republicans, Mitch McConnell, people like, they don't want to work with anybody.
They don't work with Republicans.
Right.
Like, they don't work with Trump.
So how do you see, okay, January comes 2020, and where do we see, like, if Bernie wins, what do you see him doing when he has to, like...
Someone like Bernie, who has for so long remained on the same page and has a real movement behind him, who has, like a campaign staff filled with people up. If you don't know who Nina Turner is...
Of course I do.
Mm-hmm. Like, people like that. People... Well,
she's cool, but
effective.
She's cool.
Effective.
She's just mad at the Clintons.
But again, but people don't. People don't care about that. You feel me? Like, I'm talking about like.
I'm going into silly things.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But I'm just saying, like, things that everyday people care about. How much money am I taking home? Can I pay for my kids to go to college? How much debt do I have? Someone who addresses those issues.
Free education. Free college, right?
Yeah, but again, in the whole it's not actually free. We're paying. But again, like someone who's really going to fight for those things, not someone who's going to go in there and be like, okay, never mind. You know what I'm saying? Someone's going to go in there and be like, never mind. So again, I don't think he would have a perfect presidency at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think that for right now, out of everyone that we have, he's the most likely to actually fight for change. And that's important because of the tone that it can set moving forward. Mm-hmm. Because it's not just about his policies. It's about how can we make this system represent the people more? You know what I'm saying? So again, like how we kind of talked about before, like the Republican Party is not conservative. Culturally conservative, but not economically. They're totally corporatist. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, when we talk about like the 1%, but not like, are you talking about like just like the average
like
run of the mill?
Yeah, like the average run of the mill Republican. What are they doing? You know what I'm saying? They're giving sweetheart deals to big corporations and the wealthy. Democrats too. You know what I'm saying? But again, these people don't represent the ideologies that they're supposed to. The Democratic Party is not the party of workers. The Republican Party is not the party of the small businessman. Like, yeah, right. You know what I'm saying?
It's nice to say, but the establishment's taking over both parties.
Yeah, exactly.
So when somebody like Trump comes in and is like, I ain't part of the establishment, people swarm to that.
That's why he won, and that's why Hillary did not win. Even though she won the popular vote, she didn't even campaign in Michigan. She didn't even go
to swing
there.
States. She didn't go to the swing states.
She didn't even go.
She's in New York.
So again,
she called them deplorable.
She called, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
we still use that name, by the way. Shout out to my deplorables out there.
I'm not even gonna go to these states. I'm just gonna win.
Yeah, I'm Hillary. Madam, was it Madam President? Madam whatever.
Even though,
Madam President.
And I mean, it's just. But again, the what Trump has done is he's opened the gates for people who really are radical or not. And by radical, I don't necessarily mean crazy. I just mean people who are going to fight. He's opened the floodgates for people like that, because now, I mean, the fact that Donald, like, I hate when I hear people talk about the right approach and what we need to do. When Donald Trump is in the White House, when he's in the White House, what are rules? What is the best approach? What is
a politician? Be presidential.
Like, what does that even mean anymore?
Well, I mean, but that's not a good thing. Like, I know we want to change things, but don't you think that there should be a decorum?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not saying that.
Okay. You're just saying,
I'm just saying that
it's just going to change.
He blew the doors open for a new kind of person to be in the establishment.
Kanye's talking about running for president.
I hope he doesn't.
All right, next topic, guys. We can't even get into that, because that's an actual topic. No. All right, I'm gonna get one. I want to talk about Politiscope a little bit. Voter turnout for a U.S. presidential election has not cracked over 60% of the population since 1968 elections. Why do you guys think that that is? And how do you think that Politiscope may be able to appeal to potential, these Generation Zs and beyond? Like, how do you think that Politiscope can be a part of the change?
Well, I think.
I mean, it's two different questions, but I'm trying to put them together.
Yeah. and they go together well.
Okay.
The first part, I think that a lot of that has to do with just our culture. Like, we're an entertainment, consumer-driven cultures, consumer-driven society, which means that we're not particularly concerned about, like, science and politics and history and things that matter. You know what I'm saying?
In other words.
Right. Like, we're not, in general, that's not really pushed. You know, all the influences that we have is pushing us into buying something or following some lifestyle that therefore makes us buy things. So I think, think about it, like in elementary school. I mean, we don't learn anything about personal finance, how to budget. We don't learn how the tax system works.
Real estate.
We don't learn about anything
that we need to do.
Exactly. That could really
help us.
I learned how to write a check in senior year in high school. He taught us how to write a check. I'm like, wow, we learned it now. How to do this?
So to the point where, like, I'm gonna be 28 in January, and it would be much more convenient if I would have learned about these things because I didn't have a choice. You know what I'm saying? So, things like that, I think, and that's very convenient for the establishment, because if people aren't even interested in stuff like that, well, you don't have to worry about people very much. You know what I'm saying? Like, for the most part, people are people are fitting into the consumer economy, working jobs, blah, blah, blah. But I think now how Politiscope really comes in to help with that is it's not necessarily that our product is revolutionizing everything, but more so like it just came along at a good time when millennials and Gen Zers are already consuming independent media.
Yeah, and they're already actively interested also in politics
and already have that influence. And so that's twofold. So first, the bigger our platform gets, the more people will have easy access to following politics that matters. And again, we focus on, with Politiscope, you're going to know what your elected representatives are up to. You're going to know what they voted for, what those bills mean. And we want to help you understand society. So like the Federal Reserve, how does that work? What do they do?
The feds.
You know what I'm saying?
All they do is print money.
Pretty much, and it causes a lot of problems. But again, it's not that we're revolutionary or anything. It's just we're an easier way to consume what you're already consuming. You know what I'm saying? Instead of having to flip through 10, 20, 30 different pages or websites or sources. It's all right there.
I want you to take a look at the app, Chris, and the listeners also to definitely download Politico.
And in 2 or 3 weeks, we're coming out with a new version.
Yeah, so, it might be right around the time this episode.
Okay, cool. So we got a new version coming out where you'll be able to follow federal elections. So president, Senate, House, all that.
You probably also should put in like something where it's like also activism. I feel like an activism part. I think activism is so big that like maybe that's something else that you guys should like look into.
Definitely
getting having some, because that's another audience that they're already tapped in. So once you can kind of get them in, you can sway them into political.
Especially once we have enough users, we can really steer people.
Right,
into that.
Right. Because most people, you see that the issue is that people are so disinterested in politics because they feel like it's failed them so much that there needs to be something like a Politiscope, something where we can start seeing like, oh, so you mean that this senator is actually doing something good, or this mayor actually was able to fix this street that they've been talking about for 10 years that hasn't been fixed. Like these are the kind, because you guys don't have like mayors and governors not yet, but that will be the next phase. But those are the kind of things that people want to see, because for so long, all our politicians, people like our podcast is. I'm surprised that there isn't more of these kind of podcasts that specifically talk about politics, but people are they shy away from it. They just don't want to hear it. People don't understand it,
and they feel like they can't understand it.
And that was one of the reasons why we started this podcast, because we felt like there needed to be a space where we can discuss things to each other. He might be he's not even a Republican. He's a conservative. He might have conservative ideologies. He's worked, as he said, he worked with Obama. He has a brain where he can decipher which way he wants to. He's free to be who he wants. I'm free to be who I want. I'm free to like who I want. But we can discuss, and we can have conversations with other people that we disagree with. We can walk away and be, cool. And that should be America. It's becoming so bipartisan that to the point where it just feels like, hopefully a Politiscope can come in and people can start seeing like, well, I'm obsessed from this person, and I'm literally like, this person hasn't done anything for me in 4 years. I'm not voting him in again next in election day. Like, he's gone. You know what I mean? People, especially I feel like with the way we stick to our Democrats and our Republicans, we need to really hold them accountable. And that means not just every 4 years. When it's time to vote for a president. Stop just waking up when it's time to vote for a president. Start paying attention to your neighborhood.
And realize these people work for you.
Yes. I went to one of my, what do you call those things? Is it city count, like those council meetings? Town halls. Yeah, I live in a small town in Jersey. And I went to it, and like, I would never, and I'm from New York. I'm born and raised in New York. So for me, I'm like, I would have never went to City Hall and go listen to Mayor Giuliani, you know what I mean? Or Bloomberg, you know what I mean? And definitely not de Blasio, Yeah. But it was just like, I noticed who was there. I watched everybody that was there. It's like a parade of people adoring cops. That was it. So I realized that my town, the cops are a big deal. Like, they're, and our town is very nice. It's clean. It's beautiful. It's quiet. It's right across the bridge from the city. You could see the city. And it's like, I realized that that's his interest. So whatever the cops need, he's going to be, that's his main, like, constituency in real life, right? So if the cops say, hey man, we need more patrol people, all right, we're gonna get that for you, we're gonna do some more stuff. Hey man, we need, because not a lot of people like me were there. I'm sitting here saying, hey, I want to do, where's like, I want the Lime scooters. Why don't we have like the bird scooters in our town? Like, why can't we have that? Hoboken has it. It's like, oh, we have the bike share app. Okay, cool. Well, why don't we have like, and it's like, there aren't enough. So it's like, thanks girl, thanks for coming, but this is what I really care about, Yeah. So imagine if there were more people sitting, because again, they're accountable to the people, their constituents. If they see that the next time I go and it's 100 of us and we're sitting there like, hello, we want the scooter, then it's like, okay, now let's look into this program. Do you know what I mean? It's a very small example, but that's how I say we need to be more involved. Otherwise, we're just literally watching another cycle, the same BS, get some, Elizabeth Warren becomes the president.
Well, that's why I said so earlier. It's so important for us to do the town halls, because you got to make your presence felt. If you have your presence is not felt, how are they going to pay attention to your presence? They don't even know it's there.
Yeah.
And I think technology is a big part of helping that out. Social media has been a big part of helping that out. I remember when I was going on my rants, excuse me, about Trump during the 2015 elections. A lot of my friends, and this is before I did the videos and I got out there, when I had like 230 Facebook friends. And like people I grew up with, childhood friends, family, they would see me how passionate I was, and they'd just be like, "Man, what are you passionate about?" And there'd be a few people that were on the right or left, so they already made their choice of where they stand. And about 80% of the rest of the people, at 100%, they have no clue, and they're just looking at me like, "Why are you like this?" And then a lot of them message me and like, "Well, what do you think? Why do you support him? And what do you feel about this? What do you say about that?" And I'll break it down for them. Boom, 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 and they're like, "Wow. Okay, I didn't think like that. And so I just realized then that there's a lot of people that just don't really care.
Or don't understand.
Or don't understand. They don't understand, but they don't care because they don't understand.
Exactly. Because you know that if you don't understand something, does that make you want to pay attention? It almost makes you want to stay away from it because I don't know what this... Some people don't even know. Like I was just talking to my friends. They're like, yeah, so the vice president. They're like, I said, do you know who the vice president is? Like, no, I don't even know. I have no idea who the vice president is. Like, and I'm talking about people who are in high positions that have no idea. What's his name? I have no idea who the president... Mike Pence. They're like, oh, yeah. I think I've heard of him. He's your vice president.
But again, that speaks a lot to the culture, our culture.
But people knew who Biden was, though. People knew who Biden was. There was a different...
Because Obama was black. It's just Obama was black.
Yeah,
so
Obama,
you know everything around Obama.
That's true. You're right. Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
And too, Biden's... In terms of like personality, like is a bit more
good old
like
Joe.
Yeah, like Pence is quiet
and scary.
And Biden's just kind of like from a personality, he's more likable from a personality standpoint.
I mean, I would say the same thing. I mean, I would agree with you. I definitely.
Well, I mean, like just generally, like
no, I know.
Like,
I could
if you don't look at any of the policy,
I get it. I know. You don't have to because I thought he was going to say something about Biden.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, no, and we talked. I do not like Joe Biden, but I'm just saying, like, just like if you were just to meet him. You know what I'm saying? You see him on TV smiling. Mike Pence is always like,
yep, that's his face. Yeah, the blank stare look. The blank stare look. And you don't know what he's thinking about. You don't know, but we do know that mother has to be around
that's actually,
all the time, his
which
wife.
is interesting. That's actually a lot of Joe Biden's support is that. I like him. Mm-hmm. That's most of his support.
Wait. What do you mean? They like that he's like that?
No. That like a lot of people who support Joe Biden is just because I like him. I like him. He was with Obama. Like,
okay. I thought you meant like I thought you were talking about the opposite. I thought people who support Mike Pence, they just like the fact that he's so like he doesn't.
No, there's people that do like that. There's establishment Republicans, Rhino Republicans. They love Mike Pence. They love the fact that he's
evangelicals, especially. That's one of the biggest reasons evangelicals support Trump is because of Mike Pence.
Mm-hmm. And that's another. That's a reason why he's one that Trump chose him as a vice president as well. That's politics.
There was a smart political
Kennedy chose Lyndon Johnson because he would win the South with Lyndon Johnson.
Right.
Obama chose Biden because he needed white people.
He needed older white people. Because he was too young, Yep. All right, guys, this was great. We're going to end it right here. It's just politics as usual. Thank you all for listening to Politics Podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know topics you want to hear us talk about next. You can email us at politricspod@gmail.com. Thank you to our guest Jackson from Politiscope. Please check it out. Download the app. Look, it's very intuitive. It's easy to understand, and most of all, it's informative. You know what I mean? Like we spend so much time on Instagram, hours and hours. Spend a couple hours or a couple of minutes trying to learn who works federally for you, like who's at the Fed level in your state. All right.
Yeah, save the twerk video for a little bit later. You know?
Right. Save it for later. All right. Anything else you want to say?
No, just, thanks for having me. And again, just, like you said, download Politiscope, check it out. It's just an easier way to keep up with politics. I'll just, let you download it and make up your own mind.
Can you give us your, the Instagram and everything?
Yes, it is Politiscope app.
And the website?
just go to Politiscope app, because we don't have we kind of have a website, but not really. So
okay, it's getting there.
Yeah, so just Politiscope.
Support the entrepreneurs, guys.
Right, Politiscope app, and download the app though. We have new updates every single day. We're very active on there, so there's always something to learn.
Beautiful. All right,
I'm downloading as we speak. Folks.
All right,
awesome.
Look at that. Look at that. All right, when I'm cursing D on Instagram.
Chris Wright NY.
And what's yours?
I actually am not on social media, but that's going to change very soon.
Okay, so we'll look out for Jackson when he comes
Jackson
up.
White.
There you go. All right, Jackson White. And everyone have a great week. Enjoy.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
I think they got something they want to say. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they got something they want to say. I think they got something they want to say.